fakes Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Here on the back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big one in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first play from scrimmage.
Bearcat Blitz weekend edition time here on the Believe Network. I'm your host, Russ Seltman from Cincinnati Bearcats on SI, joined by my co-host, Neil Meyer, in just a few moments after we get to the top of the show business, get through the top of the show business here. And we are, of course, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can bet on the World Cup. And unfortunately, there's a 30% profit boost on my Frenchies to beat the England team, if you want to pick them to beat England in the third place match on Saturday. France just put up a pitiful performance against Spain in the semifinal, and the Spaniards made them pay for it. 2-0 win. Spain has still given up just one goal this entire tournament as they get ready to face Messi and the Argentinians, who are still underdogs once again. They keep getting doubted, and Messi keeps stuffing it down the haters' throats. Spain minus 152 to lift the cup on FanDuel Sportsbook, while Argentina is plus 132. To finish third, you can get a 30% profit boost on France to finish third, or England to finish third at plus 172. Although I do think you do have to bet odds at least minus 200 or better, so that will forbid you from picking France here, who is heavily favored to be the third place team in this tournament, minus 215. If you think the underdog English are going to bounce back after that complete turtling of a performance against Argentina, then they are plus 172, and you can test your wager on that front. FanDuel Sportsbook, the place to bet on the World Cup all throughout the tournament, which is down to its final two games this weekend. We are getting to some interesting topics on this episode of Bearcat Blitz. Get to the latest 5-for-5 update surrounding MJ Collins. Will he be playing for the Bearcats this season? We are not exactly sure. We're still a little hazy on that front. Plus, we'll enter the weekend with a little strongest and weakest on the football side of things. Strongest football position group and weakest football position group going into fall camp for Neil Meyer and myself. All that coming up on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Neil Meyer of the frontofficenews.com joining me now as we get to the latest in the 5-for-5 ruling, Neil, for the class of 2022. Now, as of right now, the temporary injunction is currently holding. The Bearcats are slated to get MJ Collins on the team, but not necessarily a done deal, Neil. The NCAA is fully fighting this, and according to Mitt Winter of Mitt Winter Sports Law, this is direct word for word from his post on X. Interesting situation in the Ohio eligibility rules case. NCAA won't concede the preliminary injunction, which enjoin the rules of restitution, and they won't concede that the preliminary injunction prohibits it from punishing schools and coaches that roster newly eligible players. Plaintiffs filed an emergency motion asking the court to make this clear. So given that, Neil, I don't imagine MJ Collins has been practicing with the team. And we probably, for media members that are going to have access to any more practices the rest of the summer, may not see him on the floor until this thing is fully fleshed out in court. But as we sit here today, the NCAA is fully on the offensive with trying to make sure these guys do not play another minutes of college basketball or football or any of the sports that a respective athlete from that class is trying to get into.
Yeah, Russ, and it's worth noting too. It's a great turning point, right? It's obvious the NCAA is going to try to fight this and get these guys on with their careers, right? They are not for the temporary restraining orders for some of these guys who are fighting for that extra year and to be grandfathered in for the 5-for-5. However, sources can confirm that MJ Collins is in Cincinnati on campus and has been going through practices with the team. So
There you go.
he is here in Cincinnati. He is involved at practices. But until this thing gets clear up, I mean, for Cincinnati right now, there's been no official announcement. There's still a lot of gray areas, a lot of gray waters that they're going through.
Yeah, I
But
think a
there's
better
still
thing to say
another.
is they're not going to officially announce MJ
They're
Collins
not
as a
going to
player
officially
until
announce it,
the courts are completely done with this situation.
right? And if they're going to file these emergency uh, kind of counter arguments here, we could see an answer here soon. We could see this thing drag out. But as of right now, according to the temporary restraining order, MJ Collins is technically eligible to be playing right now. But NCAA can always come down and lay the hammer and say, hey, if you play this guy, it could be a similar situation to what the Brendan Sorsby saga was, right? Where they're going to have all these questions. If you play a guy who had the TOR, the TRO, and say, hey, let's go this route. So there's a lot of different things that could come into this avenue. It's still a lot of uncharted waters, like we mentioned, but at least we know right now that MJ Collins is here in Cincinnati participating in some basketball related activities at the University of Cincinnati.
So just kind of wait and see. It's been that kind of offseason, Neil. NCAA court case injunction. We've been touching on all of it all offseason. It's just been a lot of NCAA versus the courts for you and I across January, February, March, April. A whole lot of that. And that continues here as we take a quick break on Bearcat Blitz and then get to the meat of the show with some best and worst position groups for the Cincinnati Bearcats football team this coming season. Before that, though, I want to tell you about FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can bet on those Bearcats to win the Big 12. Cincinnati firmly one of the longest long shots, right there with the other two teams as one of the three longest long shots in the entire conference. They have subsequently in recent days, I just didn't understand why they were 100-1 for that long. They have moved down from 100-1 to 80-1 to win the Big 12. Colorado and Iowa State still in the basement at 100-1 each to win the conference, followed by Cincinnati at 80-1, and then a huge gap between them and UCF at 45-1. Cincinnati's conference schedule, tough schedule at that, a top 25 most difficult schedule in the country is a big reason why the Bearcats are so far down the odds boards on FanDuel Sportsbook. If you think they can get it done, though, head to FanDuel Sportsbook today and bet on the Bearcats to win the Big 12. A $1 bet gets you $80 in return on FanDuel Sportsbook. Great presenting sponsor of Bearcat Blitz. Coming at you with best and worst position groups after these messages on the Believe Network. Back out of the show, getting into it now, Neil, as we flip things to the football side of the equation. Interesting news that we do need to note from yesterday. Boston College tight end, Cincinnati's first opponent of the 2026 season, and one of their key contributors at the tight end position, Caleb Chudzinski, is expected to miss the whole season with an Achilles injury, unfortunately, for that young player. Chudzinski was one of the top freshmen last year or in the ACC, 313 yards, 4 touchdowns as a true freshman, and was going to be their starting tight end. Now, Neil, a player that Cincinnati won't have to worry about in the secondary or at the second level with its linebackers.
Yeah, it sucks to hear an injury happens, especially at this time of year, Russ, too. But
Right.
when you look down, I mean, especially a guy of his caliber, he had a breakout freshman year at Boston College under Bill O'Brien and was expected to play a big role for Boston College this year and arguably their top receiver in a sense. So Boston College is appearing to be without their tight end one, just about 1 month away from the season opener, a little bit for a little over a month and a half per se from the season opener versus Cincinnati. So not easy shoes to fill if you're Boston College and Bill O'Brien, but you never want to see an injury go down. And Russ, it's safe to say this was probably an injury that if we had to imagine not 100% accurate on this, so don't quote me on it. But it was probably something that happened away from the field, away from campus, if I had to imagine, as teams start these summer workouts and periods. But with an Achilles injury like that, I mean, Cincinnati has seen it in recent years. Guy like Micah
Michael
Coleman
Coleman.
last year,
Yeah.
2 years ago, around this time where he went through the Achilles injury as well. So you never want to see an Achilles, especially on anybody, but that's becoming the most common injury in sports right now. But it's gut wrenching to see, but I'm sure Boston College will figure something out. They'll have a new tight end out there on the field when they hit the field at Nippert Stadium to kick off the season.
And Boston College checking in on the ESPN College Football Power Index right around, let's see where they're slotting in this season, 78th, Neil, while Cincinnati on the ESPN FBI is 46th. At home, down a key starter already. I mean, that's a game. If Cincinnati does not start 1-0, it's going to be a massive, massive disappointment to open the season. You got to get rolling with 4 wins out of the gate in this tough 2026 slate. And speaking of that, one position group that's going to help them get there, Neil. And this is, I took the low-hanging fruit here. I'm sure you would go with this position group as well as the top best position group on the entire team. It's that offensive line. No doubt about it to me. That offensive line is the best position group on this team right now. You look left to right now. Joe Cotton, you got Evan Tangestal, Tarantayo at center, and then right guard and right tackle are the big question marks about who is eventually going to take those positions. Not completely firmed out right now, but you got a lot of guys in the mix. You got Ethan Green, you got Nolan Latalippe, you got Grant Edgington trying to make a case there, Xavier Lozowicki, Judea Milan. Judea most likely gonna be the right tackle option. I don't know why I mentioned Ethan Green. I think he isn't off the roster right now, but
Yeah, Ethan Green transferred to USF. I was about to say that.
Yeah, he's not on the roster anymore. I don't know why he flashed into my head, but Judea Milan, probably the best candidate for that right tackle spot, and then just break the pool sticks and throw them on the table, throw them on the ground, Dark Knight style for that right guard position. Neil, they're going to get their best 5 out there, and it should be one of the best offensive line 5-man groups in the entire country.
Yeah, and Russ, when you look down at this offensive line, right? Joe Moore, award semifinalist a season ago. This was one of the best offensive lines in the country last year. But you do lose some big shoes to fill when you lose a guy like Gavin Gerhardt. Obviously, he was the heart and soul of that offensive line. But Tarantayo is ready to make the move, make the jump over to center. It sounds like that's going to be where he's going to be anchored on the offensive line.
He's going to have played, I think, every position in the offensive line in his college career, and maybe except for left tackle, but every other position he'll have played.
And honestly,
once he's done,
while we're on the topic of Tarantayo, Russ, and his versatility, it makes sense. I mean, the dude told me in Big 12 media days that his first job coming out of high school was he was wrestling hogs with his former wrestling coach. Like, does that not fit an offensive lineman mantra right there, especially in Nick Cardwell's scheme where it's like tough and nasty, like let's get after it? That's Tarantayo right there. So overall, I think you're going to see him at the center position. And Russ, for me right now, from the stuff I'm kind of hearing, it sounds like they're going to keep Evan Tangestal and Joe Cotton on the right side together because they had so much success there last year.
Left side.
So it sounds like they're going to kind of go to the opposite side there. It sounds like Nolan Latalippe is a guy that has been getting a lot of reps. Judea Milan, like you mentioned, those were a couple names that we've heard pretty frequently from sources and at Big 12 Media Days. But Russ, if I had to imagine, you're going to see Nolan Latalippe at that tackle spot, maybe Judea on the guard position, just because Latalippe gives you that same kind of size and stature that Joe Cotton brings on the opposite side. I mean, Latalippe, I believe, is 6'7", so got the size and the frame of a Big 12 and
he's 6'8", Neil. Don't short him now. 6'8", 315.
So if I had to imagine, that's going to be your guy that anchors your left side of your offensive line. So Cincinnati, they got 2 premier size guys out wide. Joe Cotton, obviously 6'6", 320 pounds, an all-conference player. And then probably Nolan Latalippe is going to be your guy at the opposite end, and guys rotating in. Nolan Pastoriza, Zach Clark, Judea Milan, a couple of those other guys are right there behind him. But Offensive line, Russ, let's be honest, everybody knows that's the strength, right? That's the strength of this team. Cincinnati's going to go, if their offensive line, Russ, can simply anchor like they did last year, where they are averaging 7 to 8 yards a play roughly, like they did last year, this team might be able to pull off an upset, a couple upsets and shock some people. However, for Cincinnati to have the success that they want to have and play for a Big 12 championship, it starts in that front seven. If they can keep the front seven with your quarterback and your running back pretty healthy there, along with your five up front, if you can keep your front seven pretty healthy there, I think Cincinnati could make some noise. But they got to stay healthy at the offensive line, because if one of these key contributors get injured or have to miss some time, it's not big shoes to fill. So for me, Russ, I think that's the deepest position on the team. And then with the close second, I would go right behind you with the linebacker position as well on the opposite side of the ball. I mean, especially with
And for this team to hit its ceiling, Neil, that linebacker position probably needs to be definitively the second best position group on the team, because it wasn't good enough last year outside of Jake Golday, and it needs to be even better this year to kind of probably have to make up for some struggles on the defensive front when you lose guys like Dante Corleone and Micah Coleman.
Right. And when you look back at a season ago, I mean, Jake Golday had tremendous success in a 3-3-5 defense where not many other people on the field excelled, right? And if Jake Golday would have been having a 3-4 scheme, Russ, we're talking 2 months ago, you and I would have been having a conversation that Jake Golday is a first-round draft pick. Arguably, we would have been having a lot of different conversations there. But right now in the 3-4, I mean, you're bringing Antoine Peak from the secondary into a linebacker. That's the number one thing I want to talk about there is.
Yeah, it's already getting way better when you're taking your highest graded Pro Football Focus defender last year and adding him to that position group.
Right. And when you can move somebody who had so much success in the back end, and Cincinnati's secondary, Russ, they didn't have much success in the back end other than Antoine Peak last year. So for them to have
what was it, Neil? Two interceptions or three? Two. It was a number so crazy. It was like them and the New York Jets just hand in hand the whole football season.
And they
astoundingly low interception totals for those two teams.
Especially when they lost the margin of time of possession in many games too, because their defense simply couldn't get off the field.
Right. The worst time of possession in the country last season.
So for Cincinnati to say, hey, Antoine, let's move you off the ball or out of the secondary and let's get you closer to the ball, I think that's going to do wonders for Cincinnati. I love that they're moving him to that cap position. He seems to be excited about it. And then you pair Antoine, who Russ played last year at 210 at safety position, and he looks every bit of 225 right now, was what he told me he weighed at Big 12 Media Days. He looks the part of it. Like, he looks like a linebacker now. So to see him kind of go through this transformation, it sounds like he's comfortable playing at this weight right now. So I like that move. And then Jonathan Thompson returns. A lot of praise from him. I mean, this is a guy, Russ, he started the last 3 years, a lot of success there for Cincinnati. He's coming back for a fifth year. He's going to use that red shirt year. I think that's going to be a crucial part.
I sold Thompson a little short there. He did play solid ball last year. Wasn't great, but played very solid football last year.
Yes, and he was poised for a breakout season once Golday left. He kind of got undershadowed by the success that Golday had, but Jonathan Thompson was your glue guy in that linebacker room last year for Cincinnati. So pairing your linebackers right now, it looks like it's going to be Thompson, Peak, and Philip Makarowski in the middle, the transfer from Bowling Green or NIU. So, I mean, they got the transfers there right now. And Makarowski, Russ, looks a lot to me like the Jake Golday prototype. So there's a lot of flashes there. They're really high on him.
Coleman as well will be starting, I would imagine.
Simeon Coleman as well. We'll see.
It's probably going to be Tom. I would imagine you get Thompson, Coleman in the middle, and you got Peak and Maserowski as your speed guys on the outside. That Maserowski, he can move as a linebacker.
Yeah, he can move. And then you also got to think you throw Pat Bauer into the mix too, who missed some time in the spring, but we have heard raving compliments of him. So Pat Bauer is probably going to be in the mix as well. So Cincinnati has 4 or 5 guys who could come in here and make a play at that linebacker position with the addition of Peak. So I like that. I think Court Braswell has done a great job. And when you look at, and you can't even forget Monte Whedon in that group as well. Like, they have some guys.
Yeah, he's coming down. He's coming down from the safety position and turning into a linebacker as well.
Yeah, so you have some of those guys, Russ. That's the deepest position on the opposite side of the ball. And that's going to be their success. If Cincinnati's going to want to get some success on defense, you're going to have to let the dogs loose, right? And that's what Cincinnati plans to do. It seems like Antoine's going to be rushing the quarterback a little bit often. He joked with us that he's gotten around guys like Evan Tangasol and Tarantayo at practice. He said he hasn't had that matchup versus Joe yet. But, I mean, if Antoine's finding his way to the backfield, good things are bound to happen for Cincinnati. So right now I think the linebacker room is going to be there. They got to have the production there, obviously. And I think that's where Cincinnati's going to thrive on defense. You got your size in the secondary now, so you can let your linebackers go play a little bit and get after it compared to a year ago when you had 5'11" and 5'10", 6-foot cornerbacks and defensive backs behind you. Like, you had to drop your linebackers a little bit. But now
that
Cincinnati
had to just be a scenario where they couldn't find any other options, because that was glaringly a huge issue the moment they brought in that outside cornerback tandem. Just knowing that they were that small, it was going to be very difficult for them to hold up on the outside there. Flipping to the kind of weakest position group on the team, Neil. And this one is not a shot at anybody. It's just simply, it's a lot of projection here for this position group, and that's tight ends. 13 games played for Gavin Grover last year, 6 targets, 4 catches, 58 yards, no touchdowns, replacing Joe Royer, who was one of the best tight ends in team history in the past couple of years. Devin Zahersky behind him, Damari Witherspoon behind him, and Kamari Smith behind him, along with newly added freshman Jalen Williams. Grover, the only player with experience, and he's bringing 4 catches to the table this fall. I believe in Grover. I think he's going to be good, and I think he's a dark horse all Big 12 candidate if he gets utilized consistently with his 6'6", 255-pound frame. He's got the perfect kind of head on his shoulders to take that baton from Joe Royer and be a consistent impact player. But just a lot of projection there, Neil. We haven't seen Grover do it in a serious, straight-up starting role yet, and then there's nobody behind him that has any experience. So to me, it's kind of a weeding out by experience type of thing with this weakest position group. You could also go with another position group on the defensive side that I'm sure you'll highlight, but I think tight end for me is the overall weakest position group on the team, just simply because it's kind of got the least amount of experience that you can lean on out of any of the groups.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you too, Russ, because when you look down for Cincinnati's tight end position, it's not easy replacing a guy like Joe Royer. It's not, right? That was one of your top tight ends in program history, like you mentioned. So goes on to be a 5th-round draft pick. It's not easy filling the void of a guy like Joe, right? So when you look down, you mentioned Gavin Grover. I've been on the Gavin Grover train for the last 2 years. For those who have followed us over at TFON would know that. Great size, great potential, but they're going to lose some production there because you also lose Pat Gert to the NFL as well. So Cincinnati loses their run blocking tight end and their tight end who was doing a little bit of everything in Joe. So you lose your top 2 tight ends from a year ago, and I think Gavin Grover is going to be your guy who could come in and make an impact in the receiving side. But I do think Devin Zahersky will have a big year as well for Cincinnati. And then another guy who's kind of flying under the radar started his career as a walk-on, Lybell Waters. That was a guy from Winton Woods who I know
I didn't mention him.
Is really high on. Coach Stepp has been praising him for quite some time. I mean, you go from a walk-on, you go to now on scholarship. So you're doing something right. And he's got a big frame too. So for Cincinnati, they have the options there at tight end. It's going to be interesting to see what they have in that room come fall camp. But Gavin Grover and Devin Zahersky would be the 2 in mind that kind of jump off the page and say these are going to be the next 2 up. So you got to make the most of your opportunity. If not, it's going to be something where it's going to be a tight end by committee, and who knows what to expect in that route. But then when you flip it over to the defensive side of the ball, like you mentioned, defensive line could be in that category, Russ, because when you're talking the likes of Dante Corleone, Michael Coleman coming off the defensive end after he transferred to Miami, they're losing a lot of production there. I mean, you get
Jalen
Marquez
Hunt gone as well.
You're returning Marquez Parker. So when you get Marquez into the mix, he's played some quality snaps, but now he's asking for a much bigger load to be the lead guy off the edge. And then you bring in Josh Huff, the former running back turned defensive nose tackle. So they got a lot of different moving pieces. Now it's just going to be interesting to see what does Cincinnati do with them and how does that defensive line get the push and the penetration to get these linebackers out and running and downhill and attacking. So it's got to start for the 3-4 to be successful, and for these linebackers to have those success, like we mentioned earlier, the defensive front's got to have some push. So if you can get some push up there, I think this defense will be fine.
Yeah, Marcos Parker, Jalen White-McClain, and that's about it in terms of production coming back from that defensive line, right, Neil? That's it. That's kind of the only two guys that
that's about it.
Contributed in any real meaningful way last year. Cardell CD McPhee played in 1 game. Drew Logan played in 2 games. Elijah Gunn.
And Drew Logan's coming off the ACL. Drew Logan's coming off the ACL too, so
right.
He was still kind of limited in the spring, and we have yet to see where we're at here in fall camp. But now, if Drew can come back healthy, I'm sure he'll be in the rotation a little bit. But for Cincinnati, I mean, we got to see where we're at with him coming into fall camp.
Yeah, and then Chidera Otutu, another guy to keep an eye on in terms of moving his way into
the UTSA transfer.
Yeah, firm part of the rotation. He should be, I would think, one of the top starting candidates, if not mixing in fully to that nose tackle rotation. One of the most important positions on this defense. And you just kind of kicking yourself a little bit looking at this team and thinking, man, Dante Corleone in this 3-4 blitzing scheme could have been really, really special, but missed it by 1 season. And they're gonna have to find that next guy that can. They're not going to try to. They're not trying to necessarily replace Dante Corleone 1-for-1, but get some kind of production close to that is always the goal from that nose tackle position. For Neil Meyer, I'm Russ Seltman. This has been a fun Bearcat Blitz. We'll talk to you again next week. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. We're getting closer and closer to the start of fall camp in Clifton for the Cincinnati Bearcats football team. Enjoy your weekend, everybody.
6, Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big run in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one, too.